Hello everyone, I'm Thom Robertson. When this coronavirus disruption started, I just bought a beef jerky variety pack, so I started this vlog to eat some and talk a lot. Well, I finished that bag and vast numbers of fans responded. Well, my wife and a few friends responded. So, by hugely popular acclaim, I've procured more beef jerky variety packs, and I'm going to eat more and make more videos while I do it. Why? Because it's stupid and silly and funny. Here it is, the 28th of April, almost to the end of April here in the year 2020. Not what all the futurists were hoping for when they envisioned 2020, and we've got a long way to go before we can look fondly at the fact that it's gone in our rearview mirror. I'm referring, of course, to COVID, because we're all living it right now, and we're all kind of stuck in our homes being driven crazy by in whatever personal thing drives us crazy. Um, I hope everybody is sane and safe, though. And at the start of this show, all the time, I pop up a image and talk about what it means to me as a game developer and a game designer. So today's image is a picture from a 1996 game called Barbie Fashion Designer. And the reason that it's on my screen is because I was one of the programmers on the project. Back in 95, well, yeah, back in 95, 96, I was at Digital Domain, the developer, for a short while. It was pretty much the worst work experience I ever had in my life, and I have a tremendous number of stories about that horrible, horrible work experience. It was a Hollywood visual effects house that was trying to branch out into interactive video games, and I was part of that, experiment to see if they could branch out. So of course, it was still a Hollywood visual effects house first and foremost. While I was there, the effects company or the visual effects part of the shop was busy doing Titanic and Fifth Element and several other movies. And I have a lot of great stories about Hollywood and Hollywood visual effects houses and being in that place at that time. Uh, but what I really want to talk about now as a game designer is, uh, well, two things. First off, as a game developer, um, I'm sure everyone's heard stories of hell in the video game industry, of long hours and bad bosses, and I can assure you all of that was quite true, totally and absolutely in spades in this project. Um, so I'm, well happy to be rid of it all and being an indie game developer. Um, and this certainly was an experience in my life that taught me that the only way that I was going to be able to really express myself creatively was as an indie game developer. I, if I was going to work for other people, I was going to make Barbie fashion designers for the rest of my life, and that is not what I wanted to do. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the simple fact that Barbie Fashion Designer was never a video game. What do I mean? Well, um, um, the guy who made The Sims and Sim City. Why do I space on his name? Because I've met him and talked to him several times. Um, all right, well, remind me in the comments down below. I know him well, but I didn't. I even helped him work on his BattleBots in 2001 when I attended BattleBots in 2001, the summer of 2001. Uh, so I'm having a giant old man brain fart about his name, which is weirdly typical. His name just falls off my radar. Anyways, blah blah blah. He said that there's an interesting distinction that play is exploration. That's when kids are on a playground, they run around, they try out all the devices, they see how high they can go, that kind of thing. Games have rules and win and loss conditions. Um, This is what he also said. Um, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good definition. I think it's a definition that I can hang my hat on, and that's why I say Barbie Fashion Designer is not a game. It does not have win and lose conditions. There's no way to lose Barbie Fashion Designer. What Barbie Fashion Designer is an editor. And here's the great truth that I learned a long time ago is that editors can be fun just as much as video games can be fun. And it's true. Anybody can have fun playing a video game, or they can spend time writing a paper, or editing a document, or setting up a PowerPoint, or using music software to make music, or using graphic design software to make pictures. The bottom line is people use computers to have fun in ways that aren't games. In other words, lots and lots of pieces of software on a computer can be fun even if they're not a game. And I submit that mostly when that's true, that's because what they're using is not a game but an editor of some kind. They're creating using a tool. And that's always fun. I mean, that's why people go into their woodworking shop or their metalworking shop or do build guitars. Whatever it is they do, crafting is fun. And digital crafting with a digital tool is just as fun. And that's what Barbie Fashion Designer was. Obviously, it was sold as a game, but there was no game in it. There was no winning or losing. There was no score. Um, the idea was put clothes on your Barbie doll and design them yourself. And it was the basic concept and some of the technologies that we brought aboard were cool and neat for the time. Like the fact that you could actually print your finished clothing designs onto fabric paper, peel off the paper backing, cut along the dotted lines, apply essentially Velcro glue sticky tape, and dress your Barbie with your digital designs. That was cool at the time, and I was part of that development project, but didn't make up for all of my stories of developer hell. So that's what I wanted to say about Barbie Fashion Designer. Here we go. Let's talk about the main course, and by that I mean jerky. So we have had righteous felon jerky before, and both times I have felt it to be nasty. Now that's obviously just because I don't like hot stuff. And I especially don't like eating raw peppers, which is what specifically the righteous felon stuff tasted like I was doing. Um, I have no confidence that this particular baby blues barbecue flavor will be any different, but I do it for you. So let's get started. If I can open the bag. Go. Smells like beef jerky. Have I ever cracked open a bag of beef jerky and it hasn't smelled like beef jerky? Oh well. Here's a piece. Let's give it a try. Ooh, bitter. Well, this stuff doesn't actually light a fire in my mouth like the other two flavors were, but neither is it in any way exciting. It's not particularly tender or particularly flavorful. It's nowhere near that magical candy orange honey teriyaki we had several episodes ago. And even the last episode we had, which was just, I think, straight up normal. Oh, that's right. It was mild beef jerky. Turned out to be really good in comparison. So this stuff, yeah, I think it's 0 for 3 for me for this particular brand. All right, let's look at the mailbag. So, I'm going to start with Facebook today. where on my last episode, Doug Reichart commented and shows me that he found basically other people doing the same thing, making videos where they eat beef jerky. And guess what? Those people are so much cooler than me. Yeah, yeah, they're cooler than me. They're Irish. You have a good Irish brogue, and there's two of them, and actually more than two of them, but they do it in pairs. and and they seem to be having a lot more fun eating their beef jerky than I was eating mine. So I appreciate you sticking with me because, well, there are better options if you want to watch beef jerky videos. Thanks, Doug. Okay. And then over on YouTube, my last video, Adam Para, good friend, frequent contributor, says obviously you are inspired by Star Trek to make Artemis, and that's true. What else inspires you or continues to inspire you? That's a good question, Adam. I can certainly go on and on about it, but I'll try and keep it kind of brief. Um, I think the big deal is that I'm like almost every nerd. I'm inspired by a lot of things. There's very little that doesn't inspire me, and the truth is from my creativity. My creativity is such a wildfire, such a out of control thing that you can't actually tell what's going to inspire me to actually sit down and make a video game. It could be anything. It could be the dryer at the laundromat. It could be the car outside. It could be the way the wind blows. You just can't tell. It's often the case that I look at a game or other piece of media and then I think about somehow mashing it up with some other game or piece of media that uh, I've also experienced. But having said that, um, you know, like every creative person, I have many, many more ideas than I would ever actually get around to producing in my lifetime. So it's a question of, letting some of it wash over me, and not being so sad if I do something and try it for a while and then don't complete it. And this is actually a big deal with a lot of artists. I think they get stuck on output. I think novel writers are particularly susceptible to this because the novel is so well defined, 100,000 words, 300 pages, um, and it's hard to reach that very artificial external goal when your head wants to write, you know, 200-word science fiction short stories or something. Whatever it is your creativity makes you do. An old friend of mine turned me onto this mind blowing concept years ago that everyone's creativity works in a different way. Until he had actually said that, incidentally, while we were working on Barbie Fashion Designer, I had not even thought of the idea that there could be different kinds of creativity or people could be creative in different ways. I just thought creativity was a thing like tallness. Um, Obviously, I was wrong. so, so where do I get my inspirations from? All over. Definitely Artemis was inspired by Star Trek, but so many of my games are inspired by weird stuff. And that's, I think, how it is for almost every artist. So, thank you again. This Baby Blues Barbecue. It's a pass for me. It's not as hot as the other two from that same Righteous Felon brand, but for me and who I am, can't recommend it. But I recommend that you watch my next video whenever I put it up. I appreciate it and I appreciate your comments. Thanks.